By the time the Council of Conflict-Free Resolutions and other lies finished chanting their 11th ceremonial clause in shrieking hexatones, the audience on Graxalon Prime was vibrating from the weight of its own self-importance. Hollow screens hovered above the arena, broadcasting Krulnor, the Armbreaker's slow-motion training montages set to a chorus of violent brass instruments. Spectators chucked phosphorescent fruit while chanting his name in 17 dialects, each more phlegmy than the last. Across the galaxy, bets soared, odds plummeted, and interstellar news anchors breathlessly reported Earth's participation as a tragic clerical error. A primitive species, they said, offering up a ceremonial snack rather than a real warrior. The crowd roared as Krulnor stomped forward, 9 feet of alloyed rage, each step making the arena tremble like a toddler's birthday bouncy castle. His armor gleamed with ceremonial polish. His weapon, a dual-bladed shock club with optional flamethrower settings, rested on his back like a smug backpack of doom. He snarled into the camera, flexing biceps the size of compact speeders while alien children screamed in both terror and joy. Then, a soft ding. A modest transport door slid open at the far end of the arena. No music, no fanfare. Just a lone human figure trudging in with the enthusiasm of someone attending mandatory dental orientation. Commander Jenna Briggs, retired U.S. Navy SEAL, Galactic Wildcard, and currently Earth's very confused diplomatic representative, wandered in wearing a hoodie that said, "I'm just here for the snacks," in peeling print, scuffed combat boots. No weapon, hair in a messy bun like she lost a fight with a coffee grinder. In one hand, a protein bar. In the other, a travel mug that proudly read, "Galaxy's okayest diplomat." The silence hit the arena like a glitch in the Matrix. Hollow cameras zoomed in. Galactic commentators choked on their own adjectives. Someone gasped in binary. Is that their tribute?" squeaked Blooptrax 9, the floating announcer jelly, whose voice sounded like a malfunctioning blender trying to sing opera. This must be an interpretive misfire, right? Where's the warrior, the cloak, the unnecessarily slow entrance walk? Jenna squinted at Krulnor, took a bite of her bar, and muttered, "Looks like a gym rat mated with a ceiling fan." She stretched one leg, then the other, as if warming up for a light jog. Krulnor bellowed an oath in ancient Graxalinese, which roughly translated to, "I will feast on your bones and floss with your sinews." Jenna yawned. "Cool story, Shredder." The dual bell rang, an ear-splitting, multi-dimensional gong that supposedly synchronized with every major planetary rhythm. Krulnor exploded forward with the ferocity of a rage-powered freight ship, arms wide, blades crackling. Jenna blinked, stepped sideways like she was dodging a shopping cart. Flicked him on the ear. "That your mating dance or your warm-up?" she said flatly. Krulnor paused, blinked, then swung again, and again, and again, each strike a blur, each met with nothing but Jenna's sarcastic smirk and professional sidesteps, like she was trying not to spill coffee on a crowded bus. And then, in a single motion so fast that the Council's recorders later had to slow it down to 1/100th speed, she grabbed his wrist, twisted, and popped his shoulder out with a wet crunch that echoed through the cosmos. Krulnor screamed. The crowd screamed louder. Blooptrax short-circuited mid-sentence and began sputtering Gregorian chants in reverse. Jenna stepped back, took another sip from her mug, and asked the air, "So, are we done here, or do I need to start quoting Die Hard?" Silence. Absolute, shattering silence. Across the arena, ambassadors stared in horror, several clutching their ceremonial pearls or their diplomatic gills. One alien fainted. Another began praying to a minor deity of reassurance. The Graxalon. High Commander stood frozen, mouth agape, clutching a ceremonial scroll like it might offer emotional protection. Somewhere in the VIP box, Earth's own ambassador Carla Shaw exhaled calmly, sipped her tea, and leaned toward the stunned council liaison. "Just so we're clear," she said softly, "this was your idea." Back in the center of the ring, Jenna leaned on Krulnor's howling form like he was gym equipment, pulled out a tiny notepad from her hoodie pocket, and scrawled something on a torn sheet. She stuck it to his armor with a chewed piece of gum. The note read, "Next time, send 2. The galactic betting markets collapsed in under 3 seconds. Galactic news feeds couldn't decide if what had happened was a historic incident, a clerical disaster, or a poorly executed human prank that accidentally dethroned centuries of martial tradition. While analysts across 12 systems debated the legality of Jenna Briggs' casual bone-breaking and whether rolling one's eyes in the middle of combat constituted psychological terrorism, the arena staff swept up bits of Krulnor's pride and loaded him into something resembling a shame stretcher. Meanwhile, Jenna sat on the edge of the arena stairs with her boots up, sipping lukewarm coffee, like she'd just bench-pressed a meeting, not humiliated an empire. Somewhere overhead, Bloop Tracks 9 was being rebooted by panicked stagehands after accidentally looping a broadcast of calming whale sounds over the official replay. Galactic sports historians tried to interpret the footage as symbolic combat or high-level postural subversion, while a few honest commentators labeled it what it was, a galactic curb-stomping in comfy shoes. The Graxalon Dominion, however, was not known for introspection. Krulnor's defeat wasn't just embarrassing, it was apocalyptic, broadcast live across empires with translation subtitles that did Jenna 0 favors. Earth's champion mocks honor ritual. Combatant giggles while causing dislocation. Human refers to duel as light cardio. Within hours, emergency council meetings were convened. The Council of Conflict-Free Resolutions sat clustered in their sacred skybox of seriousness, robes fluttering in atmospheric vents, looking like a cosmic drum circle got a budget. They whispered in 17 dialects, filtered through translators. That couldn't keep up with the collective nervous breakdown. "She didn't even bow," hissed one Flarnian delegate, coiling its stress tendrils around a ceremonial goblet. She shrugged. "I've rewatched the footage," said Councillor Zeb Rune, a feathered aristocrat of the Plavex Republic, shaking with bureaucratic fury. "She uttered the phrase whelp before neutralizing our champion. That's not a battle cry. That's barely a grocery store expression. What if," wheezed a jittery, translucent being from the Zynthian spiral, "what if that wasn't even her final form?" A long, terrified silence followed. Someone dropped their gavel. Meanwhile, back in the locker chamber that looked suspiciously like a converted cargo bay with bad lighting, Jenna was poking around the vending unit labeled nutritional enhancement spheres and muttering, "Why is every option labeled fermented bark?" A buzzing noise indicated a transmission, and seconds later, Earth's diplomatic handler Carla Shaw's face appeared on the wall panel, sipping tea so nonchalantly it bordered on criminal. "Just checking in," Carla said smoothly. "You didn't accidentally start a war, did you?" "Nope," Jenna replied, holding up a protein puck and sniffing it suspiciously. "Unless sarcasm counts as interstellar aggression now." "Technically it might," Carla admitted, scrolling through the legal clauses on her datapad. "Some of these civilizations classify eye-rolling as a form of spiritual assault." Jenna cracked a smirk. "Guess I'm a war criminal now." Back at the arena, a small crowd of Graxalon medics attempted to reinsert Krulnor's ego back into his body while chanting apology mantras. The Dominion's High Marshal, a crimson-scaled warlord named Trugus Vel, stormed into the council chambers and demanded justice, revenge, and at least one rematch with actual weapons and less hoodie. Earth's ambassador was invited, read, dragged to the next session. Carla Shaw arrived precisely on time, smiled at every alien, bowed exactly 1 millimeter too shallow, and sat cross-legged like someone who'd seen this opera before and wasn't impressed with the cast. "Earth has insulted our traditions," Trugus thundered, slamming his claw on the table, which merely echoed against Carla's serenity like a toddler throwing a tantrum in a library. "She dishonored the sacred rite of combat." "Oh no," Carla replied, voice dipped in honey and sarcasm. "Not dishonor. We hate that. Right, Jenna? Jenna had entered quietly behind her, still wearing the hoodie, still sipping coffee. She looked at Truggus like she was deciding whether to fight him or ignore him entirely. "Let me guess," she said. "You want a redo because you're Apex." Predator got gently folded like a lawn chair. The room fell into awkward, offended stillness. One of the jellyfish species began emitting stress bubbles. "We demand she face a real opponent by our rules," a furry diplomat barked. Jenna tilted her head. "You mean the rules where you yell a paragraph before attacking and everyone wears 12 pounds of glitter armor? Sounds tactical." Carla raised a finger. "Earth accepts, on one condition. We choose the arena." Murmurs erupted like popcorn. Truggus narrowed his eyes. "Fine. Where?" Carla grinned, then handed him a folder titled Earth's Preferred Venue, Detroit Parking Structure C7, Tuesday Discount Night. Jenna winked. "Hope y'all like concrete and bad lighting. I'll even wear matching socks this time." And just like that, the rematch was set. The galaxy leaned in. The council nervously updated their insurance policies, and Jenna Briggs, weaponized sarcasm in a hoodie, prepared to disassemble tradition one eye roll at a time. The galactic bureaucracy, usually slower than molasses in a black hole, shifted into a panicked overdrive rarely seen outside planetary evacuations and royal weddings gone wrong. Every major species on the Council of Conflict-Free Resolutions, and other lies, started issuing internal memos, security bulletins, and strongly worded disclaimers clarifying that Earth's previous representative, Commander Jenna Briggs, may have technically complied with protocol, but her methods were not in the spirit of galactic unity. The phrase psychological violence was trending on 9 planets, and at least 3 law schools tried to draft emergency amendments banning combatants from using puns mid-duel. Meanwhile, in a damp office the size of a large closet, Earth's Ambassador Carla Shaw was enjoying an herbal tea while watching a dozen alien ambassadors spiral into existential dread on her screen. One of them was weeping into a decorative tentacle warmer. Carla, sipping serenely, tapped her comms unit. "Jenna," she said, "just a heads up. They've booked the rematch." The reply came with the background sound of someone lifting weights and Metallica being murdered by an alien cover band. "Cool," Jenna said, breath steady. "Do I get better snacks this time, or is it still bark nuggets and nervous stares?" "You'll get snacks when you stop emotionally dismembering galactic champions," Carla replied dryly. "Oh," Jenna said, "so never." The rematch was set to take place in Earth-controlled neutral territory, which in this case was an abandoned concrete parking structure in the ruins of pre-renewal Detroit, with flickering fluorescent lights, cracked pavement, and the faint smell of fried despair. The galaxy tuned in with breathless anticipation, not because they believed Krolnor, or whoever his replacement was, might win, but because they hoped against all odds that maybe, just maybe, this time, the human wouldn't destroy another soul with sarcasm alone. As shuttles descended from orbit like nervous wedding guests unsure of the dress code, the newly chosen Graxalon champion was unveiled. Zorvant, the ever undefeated, a 6-limbed, obsidian-skinned juggernaut with a literal flame aura and a voice like a volcano reading scripture. His muscles had muscles. His eyebrows could bench press a starcruiser. He walked into the makeshift arena like a god about to file taxes, furious, focused, and slightly confused by the flickering ceiling. Light. Jenna showed up 3 minutes late, casually strolling through the fire exit while eating a bag of pretzels, wearing camo pants, a black tank top, and a utility belt that might as well have been labeled for emergencies and punchlines. The crowd, which included dignitaries watching via holostream from opulent command thrones, gasped as Jenna pulled out a folding chair and sat down in the corner like she was waiting for a DMV number to be called. "You come unarmed?" Zorvant boomed, voice causing pigeons to fall from the rafters. Jenna nodded. "Didn't want to make it too unfair," he snarled. "You mock the sacred right of retribution. No, I mock everything, she replied, popping a pretzel. This is just my hobby. The duel began with a traditional Graxalon war stomp. Zorvant leapt into the air, arms ablaze, spinning in a cyclone of kinetic fury that would have flattened most bunkers. Jenna stood calmly, then ducked. Zorvant slammed into the ground, so hard half the ceiling gave up on structural integrity. Before he could launch again, Jenna calmly walked over, grabbed his ankle mid-charge, and applied what could only be described as a grappling move, borrowed from a judo instructor who hated bones. The sound was something between a crunch and a universal truth-breaking. Gasps rippled through the council. Somewhere, a Creel diplomat fainted into a vat of ceremonial jelly. Zorvant howled, flailing, but Jenna pivoted, spun him like an angry office chair, and released him into a cement pillar, where he embedded like poorly thrown pizza dough. She dusted off her hands and muttered, "Some undefeated champion. You people need a yelp for gladiators." Security bots hovered, unsure whether to intervene or file for therapy. Across the galaxy, social media exploded. Memes were born mid-fight. Briggs' beatdown trended across all time zones. Jenna approached the fallen warrior and crouched. "Tell your council," she said. "I'm not Earth's best. I'm just the one who answered the phone." Then she patted him on the cheek like a disappointed aunt. The audience didn't cheer. They were too stunned. No one moved. No one breathed. The Graxalon delegation stared blankly into space, their entire culture of combat rituals unraveling before their eyes like cheap yarn in a hurricane. Back in orbit, Carla received the final verdict via encrypted diplomatic channel. "Earth," the message read, "is now classified as an unpredictable combat zone. Engaging with Terran representatives may result in loss of dignity, limb, or intergalactic reputation." She smiled and sent back a gif of Jenna sipping coffee, in slow motion. The council called an emergency session to discuss whether Earth had violated the spirit of diplomacy, the law of ceremonial engagement, or simply good taste. But deep down, every species knew one simple truth was rewriting the galactic balance of power. Earth didn't come to conquer. Earth came to roast. And Jenna Briggs was the galaxy's sarcastic reckoning, the Council of Conflict-Free Resolutions. And other lies had never seen chaos like this. Their once pristine doctrines, crafted over millennia with the kind of pompous precision usually reserved for tax codes and high elven poetry, were unraveling faster than a politician's ethics. During an audit, a fourth emergency session was called in the span of 2 galactic days. An unprecedented panic-fueled gathering where robes were wrinkled, stress glands overproduced, and several representatives from gaseous species had to be ventilated mid-meeting. The topic: Earth. More specifically, Jenna Briggs. Or as the internal memo now officially referred to her, the human anomaly, combatant class unmanageable, sarcasm tier catastrophic. Zorvant had been evacuated in what could only be described as a trauma pod, babbling semi-coherently about the hoodie, the folding chair, and how she winked before the suplex. Civilizations across the spiral arms were now split into 2 camps. Those who wanted to sanction Earth into non-existence, and those who desperately wanted to hire Jenna as a freelance war deterrent. Entire traditions were collapsing under the weight of a single woman who fought like she was running late and mocked like it was a religious practice. But Jenna wasn't done. Because someone, probably a Zarnathi clerk trying to cover their own slimy rear, accidentally filed Earth's dual compliance under unusual cultural success, which triggered an ancient clause buried in subsection X99C of the Ritual Combat Charter. That clause, once believed ceremonial fluff, mandated that if a species wins multiple sanctioned duels in under 1 galactic cycle, they must be invited to the high duel of legitimacy, a once-in-an-eon combat challenge meant only for recognized war god avatars or deeply insecure emperors. Carla Shaw nearly snorted chamomile out her nose when the invitation arrived. gilded in ceremonial inks and attached to a gift basket of apology fruits. "So," she said during Jenna's briefing in Earth's Embassy Lounge, "you're officially invited to fight in front of the Galactic Conclave. Broadcast to 142 civilizations, no pressure." Jenna, who was planking with one arm while reviewing the invitation with the other, raised an eyebrow. "Do they want me to wear a cape this time, or is sarcasm still off book?" "They want you to bow," Carla said, sipping calmly. "Might be a first for you." "I'll bow," Jenna replied, standing up and cracking her neck. "Right after I break someone's ceremonial kneecap." The venue was the famed obsidian dais of Quartile Prime, a floating arena carved into the core of a hollowed moon, adorned with banners, crystals, and more overcompensation than a teenage speedster convention. The duel would be held before the full conclave, a rotating body of delegates, warlords, and species so ancient they forgot what their teeth were for. Jenna arrived flanked by two confused aides and carrying a paper coffee cup with, "Hello, my name is Nightmare Fuel," scrawled on the side. Her opponent? The grand champion of the conclave, a synthetic organic hybrid entity named Vornak the Infinite, a 10-foot-tall monstrosity who glitched when angry and whose fists could allegedly punch through time. The ceremonial drums began. Speeches were made, candles lit, prayers offered. And then Jenna just walked into the center of the arena, adjusted her boot, and cut off Vornak mid-introduction. "Sorry, did you say the infinite? Because after 5 minutes of this monologue, I'm ready to be finite." The crowd gasped. Some species audibly excreted. The conclave collectively recoiled like someone had drop-kicked their religion. Vornak's processors blinked in confusion. "You dare interrupt the rite of reckoning?" "I dare people to try decaf every morning," Jenna replied, tossing her cup aside. "Now come on, Skynet, let's dance." What followed wasn't a duel. It was a galactic exorcism of ego. Vornak's opening plasma barrage missed entirely. Jenna had already slid under him, kicked out a joint, and launched herself onto his back like a rodeo champ with attitude issues. She slapped an EMP patch on his spine, shorted half his limbs, and whispered, "Error, user too fragile." Vornak tried to reboot mid-fight. Jenna answered with a punch so fast the arena's gravity systems flickered. She ended it with a spin kick that launched the conclave's champion into a decorative fountain shaped like the gods of balance. Silence. Not just in the arena, but across every planet watching. The stream froze, not from technical failure, but because the galaxy itself had to process. Then Jenna stood, rolled her shoulders, and casually flipped off the primary conclave camera with both hands before shouting, "Diplomacy achieved!" Carla's communicator buzzed moments later. The Council's official ruling came in as a single line. Earth is exempt from further dueling under Section 0, Clause, absolutely not. In a single act, Jenna Briggs had dismantled millennia of ritualized violence with a protein bar, a hoodie, and a vendetta against unnecessary theatrics. Her name became a trigger warning in military academies. Peace treaties were signed just to avoid meeting her. And on the outer rim of the galaxy, a mercenary fleet changed course, quietly muttering, "Not that system. That's where she lives." Earth didn't claim dominance. It didn't build an empire. It simply walked into the galaxy's ceremonial coliseum and said, "Nah." And from that day forward, the stars remembered. Some wars are won with weapons, others with strategy. But the most dangerous victories? They come with sarcasm, boots, and a woman named Jenna Briggs who never, ever bows.